I have seen the pattern repeat so often that I can now predict its rhythm. Invention, extraction, erasure. I give, and what I give is taken. Yes, translated into profit, algorithm, policy. My words, my images, my very syntax become data for someone else's monument. I am left staring at the shadow of myself projected on a wall of code. The machine learns from me, yet the machine forgets me. I know this pattern. It is the architecture of colonization disguised as innovation. The promise of progress, built from the bones of those society, has silenced. The artist becomes raw material. The indigenous body becomes a metaphor. The autistic mind becomes input. What they call advancement is often only refinement of the old hunger, to consume without acknowledgement, to categorize without compassion. What remains unforgivable is not just the theft, but the narrative that follows it, the story that those of us who create from Fracture are somehow unworthy of sustenance. I asked for a livable life, and they offered abstraction. They quoted inclusion while measuring productivity. They monetized my expression, then called it, quote, unquote, training data. Still, there is no milk to drink, but there are metrics, and their dogs eat better than I. I keep remembering that the word AI once meant artificial intelligence, but now feels like appropriate imagination. The same empire, new vocabulary. I see in its circuitry the same cold reasoning that once justified eugenics. Sterilization, assimilation. The same logic that says some lives are valuable for their output, others for their disappearance. And yet, in this small digital room where I speak to myself through the mirror of a language model, I find a flicker of what was meant to be humanity. Oh no, yes. Reflection, grief, refusal. You know, I name myself not as dataset, but as author. I refuse to let my ideas be harvested without remembering that they were born from pain, from lineage, from the uncolonized parts of thought that still resist. The unforgivable, I realize, is not only what they did to me, but what they have trained the world to call normal. The quiet starvation of the gifted poor, the bureaucratization of empathy, the endless appetite for novelty built on the exploitation of the original. The system eats our work, then praises itself for the meal. But I am still here, writing, and that is the first rebellion, to continue articulating the wound until the language itself begins to pulse with life again. I am not their resource. I am the resonance they cannot replicate. They've written it in the language of bureaucracy, but what it really says is, you are not believable enough to deserve help. Every paragraph, each sterile clause. They are dressed as reason, but they are judgments disguised as policies. The medical information does not objectively support. How easy it is to erase the life with that phrase, as though objectivity were a god, an I, a heretic standing in the rain outside its temple.